All right, here we go. So those of you that are on live, they can see I have 2 people here. But like I promised them, we're gonna rock it like it's 32 people in here. What made you want to keep over that notebook? Did you know you was coming back? You did? You just happened to keep up with it? All right, girl, you honest. That's what I say. You honest. I appreciate it. All right. So what we're gonna get in today is we're gonna talk about resilience. Resilience. You ever heard that word before? Never? Oh, you're gonna learn the word today then. All right. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna have to work my own computer today. My niece's not here to help. All right. So y'all were with me last time, right? Yeah. Okay. So you were with me last time, and we talked about discipline. You remember that? You remember what discipline means? That was a long time ago. With your what? With your goals, yes. Now, discipline is having the ability to work hard to go towards your goals. To say no to fun stuff, to do some of the stuff you might not want to do. You see what I'm saying? So that was discipline. Now, before we talk about discipline, you missed this, but it's all good. We talked about self-love, and we talked about foresight. The word self-love, there we go. What's your name, young man? Cortavius. What's up, Cortavius? Let me give you a... Come here for a second. I'll give you a ticket. I want you to hold the ticket because all right, so we talked about discipline. Last thing I asked before I stepped away is self-love. And it's, what's your name again, Cortavius? Okay, so what do you think the word self-love means? Think of the word self-love. Say it a little louder. Never give up. He said never give up on what you want to do in life and love yourself. Great. Do you love yourself? Okay, here you gave me a frown like, yeah, of course I do. Now, let's talk about the word foresight. Now, look at the word itself and let's break it down and see if we can find out the meaning based on what makes up the word. So you have fore and you have sight. So we know what sight means. What does sight have to do with it? Anybody say it? Sight. Boom, your eyes, so seeing. All right, so foresight. You ever heard the word forward? Okay, what does it mean to go forward? To go straight. There you go. All right, so what do you think foresight means? It says sight means to see, and forward sounds like forward. So what do you think foresight is? Looking where? Straight, or looking forward. All right? So we talked about the importance of looking forward in your life. Why do you think foresight is important? Why is it important to look forward in your life? Anybody ever asked you a question, where you want to be when you grow up? And you answered, is that looking forward in your life? Yes, because that's your future, right? So you use foresight all the time. That's a question that every kid is probably asked. What do you want to be when you grow up? All right? And then you say, well, I want to be a teacher. Or I want to be a truck driver. I want to be a basketball player. That's foresight. You look into your future and say, that's what you want to become. All right? Boom. So, I always go over my community guidelines first. We only have a few people here, but I go through this anyway because I think everyone needs to know the rules we play by. All right? So, we always show respect to each other with our actions. That means we don't laugh at others. That means we do not make jokes about others. That means that we support each other's answers and each other's input. Appreciate y'all. What's going on? Come here, big guy. Do me a favor. Go over and get you a ticket. And get you a plate. Appreciate you. All right. All right, so we show respect through our actions. We participate. It's a light crowd today. And it's the environment where it's okay to participate. Whether you think your answer may be incorrect direct, whether you think your answer may not be the most popular, it's okay to participate. That's the only way you're going to learn is if you participate. If not, you're just going to sit here and listen to me talk for 2 hours. Number 3, have fun. I do my best to make these presentations fun and rewarding. So I promise you, if you pay attention, you're going to get resilience. Based on the numbers here, everybody's going to leave with some money in their pocket. Like it says, I have incentives for you, 5 cash prizes. Incentives when I come, because I want to reward the kids for 1, coming to see you on Saturday, and 2, participating. So those tickets that you have, those red tickets, that's where they come in. The more you participate, the more tickets you get. The more tickets you get, the more money you can win. All right, you see how that works? All right? Come here, big guy. What's your name? What is it? Mario. Come here, Mario. Let me give you a ticket. These tickets might get you a little extra money. There you go. Hold on that. All right, so the more you participate, the more tickets you get. All right? So that's me rewarding you for, doing your best. All right? And winners will be selected at the end. So at the end, after we're done talking, I'm going to draw for cash prizes, and you might even wait. No, you don't leave with a piece of money. I can't let you be. If you only got 5 people, everybody's leaving money. All right, the purpose of the Let's Build series. So let me recap about what the Let's Build series is. So back in September was the first time I came to Dugan and started the Let's Build series, and we talked about self-love and foresight. What the Let's Build series is, it's a program that I created that I feel if students have these particular 5 characteristics, they'll be able to move forward and do some good things, some great things in their life, great things for the community, okay? So we talked about self-love, we talked about foresight, we talked about discipline, and today we're going to talk about resilience. And I have each characteristic in a specific order. They're in an order for that reason, all right? Because they all build on each other. Thus the name Let's Build, all right? So that's what we're doing today. And we're going to talk about resilience. All right. Every time I do a presentation, I always want you to know what my goals are for you. And plus, this holds me accountable, okay? No sense in me standing here talking for 2 hours and, I'm not saying anything worth you take it, all right? So this is what I'm promising to you. When you leave here today, you're going to have an understanding of the meaning of the word resilience and how it relates to your personal progress. You're going to have an understanding of how resilience relates to discipline, foresight, and self-love. And you're going to leave, if you participate, you got to write some stuff down. If you're going to leave with a plan or a strategy to improve your personal resilience. All right, so when you leave here, I want you to leave a better person because you're going to have a plan written down to address or to make you more resilient. Good morning, Miss Lady. Come over here and get your ticket. Now, you've been here every session, so I know you know how it goes. Good to see you back. Thanks for coming, okay? All right. Today's agenda. This helps me keep track of the time so I can make sure I'm getting through everything. We're a little bit behind schedule, but it's all good. So we've already done an introduction. I talked about self-love, foresight, and discipline. All right, and the next thing we're going to get into is the meaning of resilience. That's going to be followed by a short activity. I always encourage you guys to do activities because that's where you have the chance to actually practice some of these skills, that I'm trying to teach you. All right, after the activity, we're going to talk about what to do when challenges come. Because one thing about resilience, you have to be resilient to live this life. All right, and so we're going to talk about how you're going to handle those when they do arise. All right. Before the closing, you're going to make your own personal plan. We're going to wrap it up, and then we're going to give out some cash prizes. All right. All right, so resilience. Who can read the what? Yes, ma'am. All right, so resilience. For those that just arrived, we talked about resilience, but we didn't get into the definition. A couple things I always do is when I bring up a new word to students, I give them the Webster's Dictionary, but more importantly, I want you to be able to define it in your own terms. The Webster's Dictionary definition is important when you're in an academic setting where you may have to define the word. You have to write down how it's written, in the dictionary. But when it comes to your implementation of that characteristic, I don't care if you can quote what resilience is, I'm more concerned that you are able to implement it in your life. So if you see me and say, Mr. Brooks, I don't remember what resilience is, but I got a D on my spelling test, and now I'm going to work to get an A on the next one. You're showing me what resilience is. All right? So I want you to be able to know how to use it, not just define it. All right? So who can read the Webster's Dictionary? Right here. Read that for me. Hope you can't. If you need to get a little closer, man, feel free.
Capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, stressors.
All right, stop right there. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Come over and get the ticket. The capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. All right, so whenever you are looking at a definition, the best way to comprehend and try to understand it is to break down the parts. Okay? So what I did, I underlined a few of the more important terms in that definition so we can try to figure it out for our own understanding. So, the capacity. Anybody know what the word capacity means? Capacity, let's see, it's probably in this building somewhere. If I say this building has a capacity of 50 people, what does that mean? That means, okay, if 50 people can fit in here, nobody else can fit. All right? So, the word capacity means room. All right? All right? Room. All right, so what does the word recover mean? What's recover mean? Say it a little louder. If you do something bad, and what? You're recovering from something that's happened. Oh, give me an example. All right, good. She said her example was, I broke my ankle and I'm recovering. Okay? So recover from something means you heal from it, you bounce back from it. All right? And I underline from difficulty. What does it mean when something is difficult? What does it mean? If you're struggling? Okay. Struggling or hardship. All right? So with those words all jumbled together, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. Who can tell me what resilience means in their own words? Don't give me the definition I just read. Can you tell me in your own words? What's resilience mean? When you bounce back from something easy or something difficult. From something difficult. All right? When you bounce back from something difficult. That's exactly what resilience is. How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming out, man. Hold that. Giving away some money at the end. All right, so resilience, bouncing back, basically. Raise your hand if you ever had to bounce back from something in your life, something bad happened, and you had to wake up the next day and keep living and keep moving. Boom. Probably everybody. And if you can't think of a situation, I'm going to help you reflect in today's lesson. Because I guarantee if you think long enough, you've had to be resilient already. All right? Because in order to be here today, I'm sure you've had to go through something that based on your understanding of life is a tough situation. All right? So, the next line, it says, your why has to be greater than the obstacle. I think that means your why has to be greater than the obstacle. Excuse me. And notice the word why is in all caps. Why do you work hard in school? So you don't get in trouble? All right, I'll take that. Why do you use manners? No problem. Okay, you can get in trouble. All right. So, why did you study in school? Okay. So, why did you work hard to try to become something when you become an adult? No, you specifically. Why do you? Because you want to be something. All right. So, you. Why do you work hard in school? So you get smart. All right, so everybody just gave me a why. No matter what your why is. If your why is I'm doing it because I want to get in trouble, that's a why. If your why is I'm doing it because I want to be a better person, that's a why. All right? So you have to remember why you're doing things. Because when you get to an obstacle, before I get that, what's an obstacle? I used to run obstacle courses back in the day. You was going to say I stole your time. So tell me what an obstacle is then. Because I said obstacle course. What's obstacle? Okay. So if I'm running that obstacle course, is it going to be a clear pathway like this? No. What is it? What's going to happen? What is it? gotta figure out, you know, how to make it make sense to you. So thank you. So yes, your why, the reason you do something has to be greater than what's in your way. All right? So we're going to talk about how you can keep in mind what your why is, whatever it is. All right? And how you can remember that when you run into those obstacles. Because sometimes those obstacles, man, they can shake you down. To where you just want to say, you know what, forget it. This is not for me. All right? So we're going to talk about how you can avoid running into those obstacles. Okay? Last, we're going to talk about making the best of situations you can't control. Who can give me an example of a situation you can't control? It doesn't have to be complex. No? Just give me an example. What's an example of a situation you can't control? You can't. Okay, so if you fall and hurt yourself, you're saying you can't control that. All right? Okay? What's something you can't control? You said whenever you get kicked off the team? Okay, you said you can't control that? Okay. So when people get kicked off the team, is it their actions that get them kicked off the team, or does the coach just come and say, hey, get out of here? Their actions. So, can you control getting kicked off the team? By changing your weapon. Man, you're a smart cookie, man. Thank you. Next, right here. Okay, so a fight breaks out, you can't control the fight, right? But what can you control in regards to your involvement? Your actions. All right, so you can control whether you get involved, right? You can't control what they're doing, right? All right, so one of the examples I always use is the weather. Weather is something that you can't control, all right? You can plan to go out and have a great evening in the sun, go swimming, and then all of a sudden the storm comes, all right? So weather is a great example to think about things that you can't control. So as an example, in regards to how to handle situations you can't control, you ever went swimming before? Have you ever gotten ready to go swimming or to Holiday World or Six Flags and then it started raining? So what did you have to do? Turn around and go. What did you do when you got home instead? If you couldn't go swim, what did you do instead? You did what? He said I went back home and played the game. So right here, what did you do when you wanted to go swimming and it started raining? Man, it's tricky. So I went home and took a shower, went to bed. All right, anybody want to add? You got on the game. All right, so what you did is you made the best of a situation you couldn't control. You couldn't control that rain that day. All right, so what you did, you made the best of it. You went home, took a shower, went to sleep. Y'all went home and y'all got on the game. You made the best of a situation you couldn't control. All right, so these things you guys are already doing it. You just have to learn to apply it to the different parts of your life. All right, these things you're already doing. All right. All right, so before I get to the video, all right, so let's talk about your why. All right, we're gonna watch this about a 2-minute video, and then after this, I'm gonna come back to what is your why. We're gonna go into a little bit more depth. All right, because the why that you gave me, I believe that's part of your why, but I bet that's not the only reason you do the good things you do. All right, so let's watch this video first, and then we'll get into our discussion.
You can write everything down if you want to. Be brave enough to write every one of your goals down. I'm going to tell you something. Life's going to hit you in your mouth, and you got to do a huge favor. Your why has to be greater than that knockdown. And I love it. Buster Douglas got knocked out. Nobody ever got knocked out by Mike Tyson and ever got back up. It was almost a 10 count. He was stumbling. It was 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. Saved by the bell. He goes to his corner. The whole world is like, that's it. Once he comes back out, that's it. Mike's going to just hammer him. And exactly that. Mike Tyson came out like, I got him. I got this kid up against the rope. Listen to me. Many of you right now, life's got you up against the rope. You can't give up. You can't
talk about that. One of the things in the very beginning of the video that he said that eventually life is going to punch you in the mouth. Did he mean that literally or figuratively? Now, literally means, he means exactly what's being said. Like, life is going to come and literally punch you in the mouth. Or does he mean figuratively? Meaning figuratively. Right, right. So, what does that mean, though? Give me an example of life punching you in the mouth. Say it a little louder.
So, if you're going down really, you're going down really fast, you'll come back up.
Okay, so you mean like going down a bad path? Okay, so he's saying if you go down a bad path, that means you're going to come back and stop doing the things that you've been doing? Like change your actions, change your behavior? Okay, thank you. Now, so in that video, and just to give you a recap, you guys are young. So I'm going to tell you about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson real quick. I ain't going to take long, all right? But I actually saw it. I lived through that. So, Buster Douglas or Mike Tyson, during that time, nobody could beat Mike Tyson. Like, Mike Tyson was a brute. People were scared to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, all right? Buster Douglas, all right, as you see, he called Mike Tyson. You see how many times he got knocked down? All right? Because, like they say, usually when Tyson knocks you down, it's over. Like, ain't no getting up when Tyson knocked down, all right? So the fact that he got up, all right, was just amazing, all right? The fact that he was able to bounce back, all right? So, at the end, they asked Buster Douglas, yo, like, how did you even do that? What is in you that made you get up from the canvas after being knocked out by Mike Tyson? Did you hear what they said his why was? Who heard it? His why was, say it. And what did she tell him before she passed? What did she tell him he was going to do? Bingo. His why was his grandmother had told him before she died that he was going to beat Mike Tyson. And then she died like 2 days before the fight was said. So when he hit that canvas, what do you think was going through his mind? What do you think was going through his mind? His grandmother, right? Because that was his what? His why. That was his why. So every time he hit that canvas, he thought about what his grandmother said. That gave him the resilience to get back up. Because if he never got up and let Tyson knock him out, do you think he would have felt good about himself? Who can tell me why not? He would have some regret. Why would he have regret? Right. And will he ever get that situation back? That opportunity back? No. So when you are dealing with things in life, whatever your why is, you got to remind yourself that if I give up, I may never get this opportunity again. All right? Because some things are going to be very difficult. All right? And it may be one and only opportunity. And that's one thing I try to teach kids is that life is not always full of opportunity. You can't throw something away and assume something else is going to come, it's going to be better. All right? So you got to be resilient and be able to push forward on every opportunity. All right, so if you did not get a notebook, I want you to come get a notebook real quick. It says note cards up there, but I've got my note cards. So we're going to improvise. Got my pencil too, so I don't know. All right, got a notebook. And I'm going to open them up on
Where's mama at, dude?
They open there, like grab one. There you go. Thinking I'll be enough for everybody right there. It's only a few tenths, so mine's got covered. It's all good. It's on the right. All right, so the original plan, but he used note cards, but I've got them, I'm going to use the notebook. All right, so quick recap. What does the word resilience mean? In your own words. Don't give me the definition. Explain it. Everybody's going to do it. You go first. Explain it in your own words. From something, okay, bad. Say it in your own words. Don't repeat what he said. What does it mean to you? And I know you got it because you give me good answers all day. To never what?
Never deny myself and always strive after
Okay. That's the same thing as never giving up, right? You know, you said, you don't give up on yourself, you try again. I'm trying to look away, yeah, you next. What's resilience mean to you? Come on now, mama, let's do a thing. Go ahead. What were you saying? All right, go look at it, change the word. You follow directions. What's mean to you? Your own word. A little louder. All right, something good or bad? All right, thank you. Right here, you try to look away. What's resilience mean to you? And you can take a mixture of everything you heard. What's it mean? Say a little louder. Not breaking your arm again. Okay, so let's say you did break your arm again. All right, let's just pretend. All right, did you playing sports? Okay, playing around? You fell out of the tree, so you broke the climb of the tree. All right, so let's think about that. If you broke your arm again, all right, would you continue to be active after your arm healed, or would you just sit in the house because you're scared you're going to break it? Bingo, that's resilience. You bounce back. You didn't let a broken arm keep you in the house. I'm still going to wear what? Even though I broke my arm last time. So you got it, man. That's resilience. All right, so in that notebook, what I want you to do, and you write it anywhere, I don't care. There's a lot of pages that we're not going to use nearly all of them. I want you to write the number 1 on the first page, and then flip and write 2 on the next page. And do that twice. So you're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's a total of 4 pages. So you're going to write 1 on the first page, then you're going to turn it, and then you're going to write 2, then you're going to turn it, and then you're going to write 1, you're going to turn it, and then you're going to write 2. So when you open your notebook, you should see page 1, page 2, page 1, page 2. All right. So on that first page, which is numbered or labeled with the number 1, all right, I want you to write down one disappointment you've had in life. So there was something in your life that you wanted to happen, and it didn't happen like you wanted it to. There was something in life that you was expecting to get, and you didn't get it. There was something you was expecting to do, and you did not get to do it. So write down one disappointment. It can be at home, it can be at school. There's something that you were disappointed about. So this is something in the past too I've got to mention. Make sure it's something that happened in the past. Not something you think will happen, but something that's already happened. We've got 30 seconds. And remember when you write things down, as long as you are able to understand your writing in this setting, that's the most important thing. You have to articulate what you write. So don't get caught up in the spelling bees. In this setting, as long as you can explain it, then you're good to go. 15 seconds. 1 disappointment. All right. So then turn the page, and then you're going to go to page number 2. So on the first page, you wrote your disappointment. On the second page, I want you to explain how you bounced back. Explain how you were resilient with that disappointment. You might have to think on this. How did you bounce back? Because resilience means to bounce back from something difficult or tough. So how did you bounce back? Give about 30 seconds. And make sure you tell me how you bounce back from that disappointment that you wrote down. give you until the time that it takes me to rip these tickets apart. And then we'll start sharing. And remember, the more you participate, the more chances you have to win some money. So as you participate, I'll make sure you get another ticket. You know what, I'll just have you guys probably come up and get your own ticket first. All right, you got 10 more seconds. You are explaining how you were resilient when you ran into that disappointment on page 1. All right? Give you 5 seconds. All right, who's going to be brave to share first? That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to start here, and this is going to go across the room. Everybody's going to share it, all right? So, tell me what your disappointment was. So, what you wrote on the first page, I'm going to stand up so they can hear you. So, what was your disappointment? And then, how were you resilient?
Oh, I know they can't hear you. I come over just see if I can hear you. I can't hear you. Okay, so you said you practiced all day for baseball and then you didn't even get to play. So, page 2, how were you resilient? How did you bounce back from that? Did you practice and didn't get to play like you were planning on?
I practiced all day until Mama, we saw me
All right, so if you didn't hear that, what he said is, I continued to practice and my mama finally saw me and she signed me up.
So, what would have happened, or what possibly would have happened if you were not resilient? You think she would have signed you up for baseball? You still think she would have signed you up? No, man. She would have saw you practicing and then probably thought, no, he would have said, he's only out there for a little bit. He got hot and on his grill. And okay, but when you went back out there and continued to practice, she saw that you really wanted to play and then got what you wanted, play baseball. All right? Oh, let me see. Right here, I'm going to come to you out. Yep. Okay, I'll say it loud. Didn't get an A on the test. All right, that was her disappointment. How did you show resilience? Say it again. All right, so when you did that, what kind of grade did you get? You got a what? A B. All right, so she said that she wanted an A in class, didn't have it. So instead of just saying, you know, if you get it, I'm going to take whatever grade. Can I ask what grade did you get the first time? What'd you get? A D. She could have said, you know what, I'm going to take this D and move on. I don't feel like going all over this again. But instead, she said she went back, corrected her answers, and she may not have got that A, but she get that B. All right? So her resilience helped her get a good grade instead of just sitting on that D, which would have been the easiest thing to do. But she was resilient. Your turn. What was your disappointment?
Mine was
Changing softball team. So you had to change softball team. You were disappointed. Okay. So then, how did you show resilience?
Trying out for other softball.
How did that work out? Did you make another team?
I haven't had it.
Oh, you haven't had it yet. So you say you are going to try out for some other teams. All right. So instead of just giving up and saying, you know what, I don't get to play with my team from last year, I'm gonna just quit. You telling me you're just going to try to play for another team. Is that resilience? Yes, it is, baby, because if you just give up, then would you be able to play softball? No, no ma'am. All right, thank you. Give me a disappointment, and then how do you show resilience? Oh, I know they can hear you. Stand up.
When my baseball team thought we were going to stay, the next year, we were
Oh, okay, all right, man. Who you play for? Who's your baseball team? The Bombers? Okay, so he said they thought they were going to win state that first year, and they didn't. But instead of just everybody whining and pointing fingers and blaming, they continue to practice, and you say y'all won state next year, right? So what would happen if instead of continuing to practice, y'all just started blaming each other and arguing and all that? What would happen? Bingo. You think you would have won state? Nope. So your resilience, or your team's resilience, led you to the goal you wanted, which was to win state. My man, give me a disappointment and then your resilience. You broke your wrist after football practice, so you wouldn't play football when you broke it. So you got out of football practice, no injury, you rode your bike and broke your wrist. All right, so tell me, how did you show resilience?
After I was able to play, I tried to harder practice and anything that my surface back.
Oh, okay. So when you broke your, what do you say, your ankle? Your wrist, I mean? Oh, somebody took your position. Right. So you bounced back and said, I'm gonna have to work 10 times harder to get it back. And you got your position back? What would have happened if you just said, you know what, I'm done with football? My man. He said, I would have just moved on to the next sport. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so I want you to do this one more time. Remember, we did 1, 2. So the next page, you say 1. Go to that. All right, then 1, 2, 1. So on this page, I want you to write down a disappointment that you're going through right now. So you have it like it's going through right now. So you're dealing with it in your life. It may happen Friday at school. All right, it may happen this morning. You might have been disappointed because somebody made you come here. All right, what was your disappointment for, not even today, but give me a disappointment that you are currently dealing with. I'm going to give you about 45 seconds on this one. Uh-oh. This may take a little long. Think about a disappointment you're dealing with right now. Or a difficulty. I keep using the word disappointment. A difficulty. What is something you are dealing with? So, what you're dealing with now, you haven't got through it yet. We're going to talk about what can you do to get through it. But you've already shown that you did it once, at least. Way more than once, I'm sure. But I know at least once in your life you've shown resilience because you just made it known by sharing. All right, so if you've done it once, whatever you're struggling with right now, easy. We're going to talk about how you can get through that as well. Now, if you're done with page 1, you can go to the page 2 and just stop. Don't write anything for page 2. Because if you've already written page 1, your difficulty or disappointment that you are going through, move to page 2. Looks like y'all still writing. About 30 more seconds. All right, so who wants to share this point? So we'll start on this side, this time, move to the left. We're going to start from the back to the front. All right, so what is your current difficulty or disappointment you're dealing with?
My grades.
Your grades, okay? Be more specific, what about it? Okay, 2 C's and D and A. Appreciate you being honest too, man. All right, so right now you are disappointed in your grades. Okay, thank you. Hold that thought. What's your current disappointment or challenge? So you say your difficulty is cleaning the house because your little sister's always messing stuff up. You sound like my son. Okay, hold that thought. So, right here, what's your current struggle or disappointment? Girl, you ain't never lied. Same thing here. You know, I'm a counselor and I hate NGI. We want NGI. 10 days. All right, I'm with you. So, a difficulty is doing this virtual learning stuff. NGI. What's your difficulty? What do you struggle with right now? You said cleaning the bathroom this morning was a struggle? The house. Ooh, if I could be a kid again. If I could be a kid again, y'all struggle? So cleaning the house. Oh, right here. Oh, that's what's up. Okay. Oh, you know what? Hold on, my man. Right here. What's your name? Yeah. How you been sitting here and just not even reminding me that you right there? I keep thinking you're a grown man out of the corner of my eye. You got 5. Get you, man. All right, so where we at? Okay. What's your current? Say it again. Struggling with math. What do you mean struggling? What do you mean? Struggling with homework. Struggling to get it done. I'm struggling because it's challenging. Okay, all right, so keep that in mind. Let's see, who did I not get? Did I get everybody? Did I get y'all? Did I get you? You got it. Okay, all right, now, my man. What grade you in? You in what? 10? Oh, okay, all right, okay. How old are you? All right, my man. So, what is something, I'm going to go back and answer the first one too, because you went back. So, tell me something that you struggle with in life and tell me how you made it through.
I didn't make the team when I was younger.
You didn't make what team? Okay, you said you didn't make the team when you were younger? Okay, so what'd you do and how did it end up after that? You just kept working? And are you on the team? My man said, I didn't make the team when I was younger. He said, I came here every day and started shooting and I'm on the squad. That's what I'm talking about, man. Stop over there being silent, man. This kid didn't hear from you, man. You play for Waychester? Man, yeah. You're a local celebrity, yeah, man. Come on, Red Devils. All right, so, now you got to share the second one, though. I can get about that. What's something you currently struggling with?
I had to clean the whole house. Why they sitting here?
Man.
Why you clean up the bathroom in your room?
All three of y'all got a good life. That's all you got to struggle with, is cleaning the house.
Good life that.
Y'all got a good life. All right, so, now look, and I'm going to give you another ticket for this. You've already written down what struggle you're going through. On that second page, I need you to write down your plan to get approved. So, my fellas with the bathroom, you're going to have to clean the house. I mean, the house or whatever. As long as you live there, you're going to have to clean it. So, you need to come up with some kind of plan to be resilient. So, take 45 seconds and write down how you are going to be resilient and push through that struggle, that difficulty. I'm going to give you about 45 seconds. And then I'm going to have you share. I'm going to get my tickets ready. So you've written down a current struggle, and now you're about to write down what you're going to do to push through. And that's how easy it is. So you wrote down something you're dealing with right now on page 1 and page 2. Now you're writing down how you're going to push through, how you're going to be resilient, how you're going to bounce back. And just through your stories, if you haven't learned anything from what I said today, the one thing you should take is that everyone in here has been resilient. At least a couple of times in your life. So you just have to learn how to repeat that process. Once you learn how to do something in life, all you do is apply those skills to different areas. So once you learn to become resilient, all you have to do is apply those characteristics to your schoolwork, to your sports if you play, sports, anything you do, all right? When things happen in life that you don't plan, how to get through, you just have to be resilient. All right, so who's ready to share? Okay, so what we're going to do this time, we're going to go here, back, left. All right, start with you. Remind us what you're struggling with and then tell us how you're going to get through. Okay, so you're struggling with virtual, NCI. How you going to be resilient?
Keep working and trying my best and ask for help.
All right, keep working and try your best and ask for help. So when that Wi-Fi goes down or your teacher didn't put you on the class, you can't just give up. Because I tell you this, and I tell this the same thing to the kids that where I work at, WB Boys Academy. Those grades from NCI, they count too. All right? You can't just say I'm not doing it just because it's difficult. You got to push through. You got to be resilient. Thank you. All right, so right here, my man. Cleaning the house, right? Cleaning the house, man. All right, so how you going to push through that?
Go ahead, wake up every morning and check every spot to see how to clean it up.
You said you're going to wake up every morning, check every spot, and make sure it's cleaned up. You got 2 brothers in here? You know they heard you, right?
Yes.
And you know I'm recording this too, right? Okay, so you're going to have to do what you said. You understand that? All right, there we go. So he he gonna get up every day and check the spots and make sure it's clean. If you do that, you think it'll make cleaning the house easier?
No.
My man, I'm gonna give it to you. Let's see what you're playing with. You got a lot to say. All right, next, right here. Remind us what your struggle is and then how you gonna get through it.
Struggle with my grades and with trying to get them up like doing the work.
Say it a little louder.
Some try to get my grades up by doing the work that I don't want to do.
All right, but you said you have some C's and D and some A's, right? All right, so he said he's going to do the work that you don't want to do, all right? That right there requires resilience. Because in life, you got a ton of stuff you don't want to do, all right? Even when you get a career you love, when you become an adult, there's going to be some stuff at that job you don't want to do, all right? So sometimes you just got to, push through, be resilient, and just do it. So if you do that, whether you use foresight, there's that word, use foresight to tell me where your grades will probably be in the future. My man. All right. So what he just did, not only did he explain resilience, he even used foresight. If I'm resilient and I do my work, then my grades are possibly going to be A in the future. My man. All right. Tell me, remind me of your difficulty, and then how you going to be resilient. All right. She said she struggles with math, and then I asked her to be more specific, and she said the concept is challenging. And what she said she's going to do to be resilient is she is going to ask to get up after class. One thing that I always tell students, you have to ask questions. That's one of the key components of learning. All right? Learning is nothing but being inquisitive. All right? That means having questions and then having somebody answer them, basically. All right? So you gotta ask questions. All right? Okay, that's something good. You got a lot to say. So you said cleaning the house, right? All right. So how you do resilient in this house? You did what? You got it down here now? Okay, so think about it. Okay. So we gonna still make a plan with that. So it sounds like you can clean when he's gone. So what's gonna be your plan to get the house clean? When is the time you can clean? And then what's gonna happen when your folks come in? Y'all have right. Oh boy, you better stop. You know what's being recorded? What's your mama's name?
Courtney.
What's your mom, Courtney? What's your mama's last name?
Howard.
Oh! I'm gonna let you stop because I know your mama. I'm gonna let you stop. All right, now. Well, look, let me tell you how it is. The point is that all y'all did this, and I know we laughed at that. All right, I know we laughed and joked. But the point is, you guys are able to come up with a plan. Now, I ain't gonna let you do the house thing, man. Your brother,
They're my brothers.
They your brother? That's what I'm saying. They your brothers. I'm gonna let them, but you're gonna have to give me something different. What are you struggling with right now?
Conditioning, like rain.
Conditioning. All right, conditioning. So if you don't know what conditioning is, that basically means working out, make sure your stamina's up, you can run for a long time, you lift weights, all that stuff. So, how you gonna be resilient to get through this conditioning stuff, man? Because you gotta do it.
Keep running.
Keep what? Keep running? What about on those days when you don't want to run? All right, that's what I'm talking about. There's gonna be days when you don't want to run. There's gonna be some days you gotta let it rain. But if you're really serious about that conditioning, you're gonna be resilient and get it done. So, you say, well, you playing the snow? Well, and you be willing to be that resilient? That's what I'm talking about. You apply it in school too. All right, so what you just did is basically looked at something that's going on in your life that's difficult, and then you mapped out a plan to overcome or to bounce back from that. So what I want you to start doing is start doing this when things arise in your life that are challenging, obstacles arise. So we're gonna go through some examples in a second. So when you run into something and it's a disappointment, instead of just forgetting about it, or instead of just trying something different, you have to use this resilience to push through it. All right? And it takes simply a pencil and paper, or iPhone, or tablet, anything that you can type or write on. And I know it may sound silly writing these things down when you're by yourself, but it helps them stick. All right? So if you just sit and you think, I want to get my grades better. I'm gonna start studying. You can say that to yourself. You know how many kids out here say that to themselves? But you have to write it down because then they become more concrete. All right? Then you're making yourself accountable. At the beginning of my lesson, I listed all the goals, all the things I wanted you to learn. All right? That's me holding myself accountable. Okay? So you have to do that same thing. Thank y'all for sharing. Making good time. All right, so let's run through some more examples. All right, because the thing about learning something is just repetition. We're going to keep trying. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, you got it. And that's anybody. When you go to the restroom, you don't have to ask you to excuse yourself. And make sure you wash your hands, man. Okay, you know what? Anybody else take a restroom break? Don't y'all go in there playing. I'm going to come in there, y'all. Come in there. So we'll take a little break. Young lady, y'all need restroom break? You boys ain't going to no restroom. apply to LSU and they don't accept you. They say, no, you cannot come to our school. Your grade is not high enough. What do you do?
Work on my grades and
Boom, that's resilience, and then you go back and you reapply, right? Bingo, that's resilience. Thank you, sir. Number 3, you want 3? You want 3? All right. So you came in last place in the spelling bee. There was 100 kids, and you came in very last. What would you do? How would you be resilient?
next day, practice work and
Okay, so you saying, even if you come in very last, instead of just feeling sorry for yourself and sitting around and crying, you said you're going to study more words? Are you going to enter the spelling bee again next year? Would you enter the spelling bee next year? Yes, there you go. I was going to say, you're going to make me look bad if you'll say yes. All right, so she would be resilient if she was in last in the spelling bee by studying and then jumping back in the spelling bee again next year. Number 4. Oh, you want, hold on. Okay, and you go to the next one. Number 4, you earned 1 seat and almost made an honor roll. So, basketball coach told you, if you don't have APs, don't even worry about it. Just stay on home. And then you got a seat. So you couldn't play basketball and you wasn't on the honor roll. How you gonna bounce back from that?
Keep studying, keep working, keep doing my work, keep turning.
Okay. What are some things that you can do specifically? Instead of keep working, what are some resources you have in school that you can access to help you? Okay, boom, tutor, there you go. Part of being resilient is also being able to access your resources to help you. So he said that he would study to improve his grade. So I asked him for more detail, and I'm like, what resources are you going to access that will help you? He said a tutor. Thank you. Bingo. Now, this one right here, I'm glad you got this one. I'm going to give you a ticket for answering, but I'm going to give you an extra ticket, or anybody an extra ticket, if you can tell me how you're going to be resilient when this happens. Number 5 says the Wi-Fi ain't working. So I know this generation, Wi-Fi goes down, your whole life's over. You can't get on the internet, y'all have no idea what to do. So, how do you be resilient if the Wi-Fi goes down? Say it a little louder. Oh, he said I'm going to play a board game. Did Miss Johnson give you that answer? Okay. He said I'm going to play a board game. Yeah, that's what's up. I'm glad no kids can play board games, man. All right, so, girl, what you going to do when the Wi-Fi go down? You say read a book? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to get you your ticket. What you going to do when the Wi-Fi go down? You play basketball? Okay, what did you say? Maybe it's Wi-Fi. Let's say you go over one day, and it's Wi-Fi ain't no more. Ain't no such thing. It's gone. What you gonna do? How you gonna bounce back? You gotta keep living. You still got a Wi-Fi. Going outside? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. What are you gonna do when the Wi-Fi go down? Do arts and crafts. So I put that one on there to be funny, and to also remind you guys that you can do stuff besides be on these tablets and these phones all day. All that stuff you just mentioned, you can do that without the Wi-Fi being down. So even if the Wi-Fi's not down, y'all need to try some of those things. So I just snuck that in right there. All right, and I'm gonna give y'all an extra ticket for that one. All right. All right, so we got 2 more things, and then we're gonna wrap up. All right. So I talked about the importance of just having an outline for learning to be resilient. So we're gonna go through. I have 7 things up here, and these are questions that you should ask yourself when you run into that obstacle or that difficulty. All right? And this is not something that you literally have to write down and read to yourself, but these are just questions you keep in your head. All right? So who can read number 1 for me? All right? Let's see. We're going to start back and move to the front. Read number 1.
Is the situation within my control?
All right. So whenever you run into an obstacle or something difficult, the first thing you need to ask yourself, is this situation in my control? Okay? What does that mean? What does it mean to control? You say you said you have to control yourself. What does that mean? If you play video games, you use controllers. What do you need to control something? Oh, okay. So you said you would control yourself by not jumping in. So you stop yourself from jumping in? All right, so when you control something, that means you direct where it goes. You have control of it. Like if I'm driving a car, I can control it from left, right, whichever way. So in that case, yeah, that's an example of control. You control yourself from jumping in. All right. So, number 2, who can read that aloud? The first one said, first ask yourself, is it in my control? You got yourself one up. So you got number 2, you got 3. What's 2? Yep, read that loud.
If so, what can I control?
All right, so if a situation's out of your control, we're going to talk about that in just a second. All right. But if you say to yourself, ask yourself, is the situation in my control? And then you say, yes, it is. The next thing you have to ask yourself is, what can I control in this situation? Like, what can I actually change if I want it to be changed? Okay. Number 3. Read number 3 for me. All right, so if it's something that's out of your control, you need to ask yourself, how can I make the best of the situation? And you guys gave me an example with the swimming pool. Remember I asked you, what would you do if you were in a situation where you wanted to go swimming and all of a sudden it started to rain? Y'all told me things like, I'd go home and play games, I'd go home and read books, all right? You would make the best out of a situation that you can't control. Because sometimes things happen in your life and sometimes people call it tragedies. All right, like recently, my mother-in-law had recently passed. Like that's something that you can't control. All right, but you have to learn how to move forward, make the best of that situation. All right, because as long as you're living, all right, you're going to have to deal with some challenging situations that are out of your control. You may want to say, you know, like, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do? All right, but instead of doing that, you have to be resilient and figure out how you can get over that hump, how you can bounce back. Okay. All right, number 4, my man. What's number 4? Yeah, big guy.
What outcome did I expect?
All right, so when you run into that difficulty, you have to ask yourself, what outcome was I looking for? Like a couple times you guys told me that you tried out, I think it was you tried out baseball, or practice baseball, right? It was you. All right, so in that situation, he expected to be able to try out for the baseball team. But he said he kept practicing, Mom didn't sign him up. But he continued to practice, and he got the outcome. All right? So when you run into an obstacle, you have to figure out, what is the outcome I'm looking for? The Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson video I showed. What was the outcome that Buster Douglas wanted? Right? What was the outcome he wanted?
He beat Mike Tyson, and he remembered the words that he said that she got pushed back away, and she said, everybody beat Mike Tyson.
Okay, so he started that by saying that he wanted to beat Mike Tyson, and then he went on to explain his why. His grandmother was his wife, all right? So the outcome he wanted was to beat Mike Tyson. He was resilient, and did he get the outcome? Yeah, he did. He won. Number 5. I think someone hasn't read it yet. Say it a little louder. All right, so when you go through a struggling time, you have to ask yourself, why didn't it work out how I wanted it to? So my man here in the back with the grades, he said he has C's and D's and a couple A's. So before he starts working on improving those grades, he should ask himself, why do I even have these grades? Like, why do I have a D? What class you have D in? Math. Okay? So before he starts trying to improve that D, the first thing he has to ask himself is, why do I even have these D's? Is it because I didn't turn in my homework? Is it because I'm not paying attention in class? Is it because I'm not asking questions? That's the first thing. You have to figure out why the outcome was different. All right? Before you fix a problem, you have to figure out why that problem even exists. All right? So if you didn't make the basketball team, all right, you got to figure out, what did I not do that the coach wanted to see? Whether that is pass more, shoot less, whether that is work on your dribbling, you have to ask yourself, Why did I not reach my goal? All right? Number 6, right here, my man.
What can I do to produce the outcome?
All right. What can I do differently to produce the outcome I want? This is when you start to reflect. You say, all right, I got this D in math. Now, what can I do differently so I don't get a D again? Because if you do the same thing over again, you're going to be in the same situation. So you have to ask yourself, what can I do differently this time? What can I try differently? What have I not tried yet? All right? That's part of resilience, is continuing to try and try and try again. Being resilient once is not always going to lead to success. So you may have to try something 5, 6, 7 times before it works. That's what resilience is. All right? Continuing and bouncing back. Last one. Is everyone ready? Okay, and right in the back.
Do it, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Man, read that loud. Read that loud.
Do it, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
At the end of the day, get it done and don't feel sorry for yourself. The last part in my Let's Build series when I come back next time, not the last part, but the next part when I come back is empathy. And we're going to talk about the difference between empathy and sympathy. All right? Because what you don't want to do is when these challenging times come, you sit around and you, woe is me, you point fingers at everybody else, I'm here because of you, or I did this because you did that. You can't do that. Because once you do that, it's going to be very difficult to be resilient. All right? So sometimes you just got to push through, and you can't sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Because the thing about life, there are other people going through things probably far worse than what you're dealing with. And sometimes you got to remind yourself of that. All right? So you can push forward. All right? So you got to just do it, man. You got to just push forward. All right, so let me give you the cities now before I start wrapping things up. I got a couple questions, and then we're going to start handing out some of this money. My man right here.
You got money?
Give everybody one? I think I gave you 7. You didn't give her one. Yeah, girl, you know you can. Come on.
I was still recommending. I just want to give an example of resilience. So last month, I figured I didn't pass my test for like law school, and even though it was a plan that I wanted to pass it, I have to go back and study. So it's pushing back here. So like I'm trying to encourage y'all that it may take longer, but you still have to keep going. I just want to share that because that's something I'm trying to tell myself to do. So I just want to give y'all some encouragement to do. So like if it comes to your grades, if it comes to sports, to make a team this year, even though it's a long world, you still have to keep going. It may take a while, but eventually you'll get there. So I just want to share some life encouragement.
Thank you, Miss Hall. And if y'all don't know anything about Miss Hall, she's doing a lot of things here in the community with Great Disciples. She's up at K-State doing the Hall thing. So I know that girl gets some ridiculous. All that stuff she's doing, there's only 24 hours a day. All right, she's doing a lot for that 24 hours. So thank you, okay? All right, so I'm going to recap everything real quick. I'm going to run through it. I'm going to rewind. my job, I'm gonna ask you guys if I did my job. And the reason I'm gonna know if I did my job, you'll be able to answer questions. All right? Then we're gonna close, and then we're gonna draw for some money. All right, so who can define resilience for me in their own words? Not the Webster Dictionary. What's resilience mean?
Bouncing back from something that you struggle.
All right, she said bouncing back from something you struggled with, and then she even added on, she said recently or in the past. Thank you. Who can tell me why resilience is important to your life? Why is resilience important to your life? Say it a little loud. Okay. So I'm sorry, that could be, I'm just talking over you. Go ahead. Say that. Okay, she said, you said push through recovery and not just stay there? No, you said it? All right, okay. So, resilience means to the word, I hope you don't push through. Push through, that's the thing, all right? Let me see, what else can I ask you? Does resilience always work the first time? No, it doesn't. Is there a certain number of times you should try it? What's the number? What'd you say? There is no number. When do you stop trying? When you get it. There you go. You celebrate at the end. There's no magical number. You keep pushing and be resilient until you get to the end. All right? So, quickly, let me ask you guys these questions and then we're going to wrap up. I wanted to make sure you had an understanding of the meaning of the word resilience and how it relates to your progress. Those first two questions you were able to answer. You told me what resilience meant in your own words, and you also shared how it relates to your progress, being able to push through, all right? Not just falling down when you need recovery. So, all right? Next thing I want you to take is an understanding of how resilience relates to discipline, foresight, and self-love. So I'm going to go back on that one. I don't spend much time on that. All right? So we talked about self-love, meaning loving yourself. For you guys that relate, you may have missed that part. And we talked about how discipline means holding off on fun stuff to do the stuff you need to. And then we talked about how foresight means looking into your future. All right? So who can tell me how being resilient will help you have better foresight about your life? Will help you clear your vision in regards to where your life is going. Say it loud. There you go. If you're resilient, then you can see that you're probably going to meet your life goals. You can use foresight to say, I'm going to reach my life goals. All right, so let's talk about discipline. How can you be resilient when it comes to discipline? What's that? To listen. All right, so you're meaning like listening at home. You're talking about discipline like in trouble discipline. Is that you're talking about? Now, the discipline I'm talking about is like having self-discipline. Like, let's say instead of getting on the game, you study. Because you know you're supposed to be studying because that math grade is a B, right? So you got to be disciplined enough to say, I'm not going to go outside and play football today. I'm going to study. All right? So that's the discipline we're talking about. Do you have that discipline? No, you. So what are you going to do to train it? There you go. So you just explained how resilience and discipline go together. All right? You said you were not disciplined, and then I said, how are you going to change it? Like, how are you going to recover? And then you just gave me an answer. All right? Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Girl, you know I'm going to use I ain't your word. You said be a leader, not a follower. That's what I'm talking about. She said being a leader and not a follower. Because the thing about being a follower is that you're going to be led somewhere by somebody else. Now, where they taking you is totally up to, you know, who that person is. So you got to be a leader. And the last thing, in your notebook, and this is my proof, all right? So I'm about 1,000 right now. In your notebook, you have a plan and a strategy to improve your personal resilience. Because you wrote down something you're going through right now, and you wrote down how you are going to be resilient. So you're leaving here with a plan. Now, the thing about that is, if you go home and just toss that notebook and forget all about this, then that plan don't mean nothing. It's just some words on a piece of paper. But if you go home, even if you don't keep up with that notebook, you remember in your head what you're going to do, then that plan is going to get you to wherever your goal is. All right? So if you don't take anything from what we're talking about today, the main thing I want you to remember, life is not going to be easy. Life is not going to be easy. There are going to be times when you want to give up. There are going to be times where, you want to make some not so good choices because it's the easiest thing to do. But you have to be resilient enough to push through those hard times. Because the most successful people are the most resilient. If you look at just prominent figures in life that are successful, that you may read about in books and see on TV, they have been resilient. That's the difference between those that make it and those that do not. Because everybody's going to go through something. And the ones that make it are the ones that are resilient. So that's why I want to talk about that today with the young folks, because you got to start doing this early. So when you become an adult and those bad things happen, you don't turn to negative things. Because a lot of times, what people would do that are not resilient? They may turn to drugs. That's one thing that is very common with folks. Bad things happen in their life, and instead of being resilient and figuring out how to push through, they may just decide to escape with drugs or other things that could lead to, harm. So you got to be resilient, all right? So before I pass out this money, did y'all have a good time? Y'all got to be loud in there. Y'all have a good time? All right, so y'all ready for this money? All right, so there y'all go. So, all right, so I want you to put out all your tickets. And hold on, let me see. Hold on. Pull out all your tickets. Uh-oh, I might not have no money. Oh, okay. All right. All right, so, draw a number. Call it out. If you have the number I called, I have 5 little envelopes here. They all number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You come up and you pick one. Whatever's in it, you get to have. Okay? Y'all ready? I'm going to put them right here. You come up and just grab one. I'm going to call. I'm going to read. I'm going to pull the tickets came in pairs. I gave you one and I kept one. You see at the top? It's 7 numbers. Y'all ready? Okay, here we go. Who's going to get first? Boy, I know that D better go up every time I see you. Yeah, that D better come up. All right, here we go. 0, 2, 8, 4, 1, 5, 0. 0, 2, 8, 4, 1, 5, 0. You got it? Let me see. All right, go pick one. Go pick one. Ooh, don't get that one. That's the ooh. Yeah, you got the change. All right, here we go. I don't know what's in it, so I don't know what's in it. All right, here we go. Next. 0, 2, 8, 4, 1, 4, 7. Uh-oh, what you come up on? All right, go pick one. Okay. And after hold the prize, I'm gonna have y'all show off to my live audience. Okay, what y'all got? All right, 0, 2, 8, 4, 1, 3, 4. Girls, that you? Well, come on. Yeah. All right, let me see. Make sure you ain't messing with me. I know you. All right, get you one. Okay. There we go. Next. All right. 0, 2, 8, 4, 1, 4, 5. 4, 1, 4, 5. Anybody? 4, 1, 4, 5? Let me see. It might be. Somebody got it? All right. We should try another. Man, got lost in the shop. All right. Next. 0, 2, 8. 4140. You won. Come here. Let's see. I definitely got that. If you don't want it, give it back. All right.
How much is there?
There's one more left. Here we go. Let's see. 0, 2, 8, 4, 1. 3, 7. I never would have thought. Never would have thought. Congratulations. So now y'all open y'all envelopes. See what's in there. So whatever you have, that's yours. And so y'all have where y'all at. So look, you must have much you need.
Ain't no way. I got 20.
All right, so he got there you go. Don't never tell nobody how much money you got, man. Don't never tell nobody how much money you got. All right, fellas, come here. Listen up. Let's close up real quick. So, listen. I appreciate y'all for coming. It's Saturday. Y'all can be doing 1,000 other things. All right. So, hopefully, you was able to take something home with you. And if it wasn't money, hopefully you got or you are able to now apply resilience in your life. Boy, I better stop. Well, I'll be resilient to take my money back. I bounce back. So, make sure when you're in class and that assignment is difficult, instead of just putting your pencil down and getting frustrated or maybe even acting out instead of doing all that, ask questions. Okay? Continue trying. All right? Any questions from me? Once again, y'all enjoy yourself?
Sir.
It should be louder. They have to get out the
Yes,
money. So look, if you did not get a bracelet, come to see me. I want to give you a bracelet before you go. And outside of that, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Saturday. I appreciate y'all coming back. And the door, thank y'all for bringing. Bring the door. I appreciate y'all. You have tickets left, bring them. Maybe we just gonna go away. I'm out of money. Hold on, let me stop my video so I can talk to you so people can hear what I'm saying.